All right, welcome everybody back to the Total Relationship Podcast. I am Kim Cochenour, the co-host here today with Tyson Ray. I've been working alongside Tyson for the last 5 years, most recently as his COO. It is our privilege to come to you today to start really diving into the topic of the total relationship. Today, we're really digging in and saying, the real meat of the questions. How do you ask the question behind the question for the client? Because no story is the same. Your role as a financial advisor is to help clients understand what their money is for, no matter how much they have. But each one comes to your table, your office, your website with a different background. And your job is to focus on the people, not the performance and the pie charts. So, Tyson, welcome. I'm excited to have you dig into this today.
Sometimes I feel like I could just sit in a chair and let you go because it's like you know it as well as I do, it seems.
I do. Well, for the better part of 5 years working with you and seeing this actually lived out with our clients and hear you teach other advisors about it, I wouldn't be here if I didn't believe in it. And I love being able to share this with you. So, one thing I think you have the privilege to do today is speak right to the advisors in the audience and kind of help them kind of start to shift their focus. They're in it for the right reasons. They want to help people, they want to focus on people, but we're going to kind of have to start guiding them to do that. So, how do you start shifting the conversation to focus on people and step away from the pie charts and performance?
Yeah, and the thing about the total relationship that you've encouraged me to focus on is the fact that we're trying to bridge the gap between the financial advisor that's listening to this, but also the client that may be listening to this. And so
Mhm.
I'm going to try and bring some application to both.
Okay.
And so anyway, if you're coming to us and you're new, or you're listening to this for the first time and you're new to us, um, we go through a process and everybody, I hate the language, right? Because like every advisor, if they are they're
They
worth
have
their
a
salt.
process too.
Oh, they have a process. Show me how much money you have, and I'll show you where I put it. That's the
We're not even
process.
going
Yeah.
to talk about money today with that.
Yes, yeah. So the we share, clients will ask, and what do they need to bring? And it's like
Mm,
nothing,
nothing.
no statements, nothing. You just need to bring yourself, usually your significant other, and we're going to sit down and have a conversation.
Hmm.
And the conversation starts with a card game. And we learned this from another financial firm, and then we kind of put our spin on it. And we have basically a deck of cards, and separated between cards that are kind of goals or the future, like thinking into the future, and then cards that are kind of like worries and concerns. And so start kind of with the goals. And I just explained them, like, we're going to play cards. We're going to go back to like we're 5 years old, right? We're going to play a game. And I'm going to give you each a set of cards, and the cards have words on them. It's not what they mean to me, it's what they mean to you. And I'm going to ask you to look at them, and then I want you to put them in order in front of you with the what hits you the most, or what's most important or most timely, or kind of the big rock first goes on top. And then
Hmm.
some of the cards may not even matter. Like, you can just set them aside, but put in order. If you could prioritize what it is we're going to try and accomplish, and then we're going to talk about it.
Hmm.
And I love this because in less than 5 minutes, a couple, if they're playing right, sometimes they'll look over each other's shoulder to kind of see who's doing what. But a couple will prioritize these goals effectively. If I had to sit there and kind of talk it to them through it, it would probably take an extra hour of conversation.
Yeah.
And so, because we're not going to hit them all today, because, people want these things within 20 minutes. And so we can't have a 3-hour podcast today. You, Kim,
Yes,
have
sir.
made me, Tyson, who would like to talk about all of it, to get into a box, which I
Yep.
don't like being in. And I get
You're
to
going to do
talk about
great.
three, right? It's going to be great. Okay. All right.
Well,
I'm
and
off the
before
hook.
you're going to do
Go
great.
ahead.
And I think it's great. We picked some really good ones to kind of get people excited about what this really means, because it's kind of the heart of where an advisor really sits. And clients are focused on these things too. But before we jump straight into those questions,
Shocking. I got ahead of myself
you
again.
did. That's
Rein
going to
me
be
in.
the,
Here we
the
go.
subtitle. Tyson jumps ahead. Well, each client's story is so different. And I know you've talked about this quote before, from Dan Sullivan, talking about the question behind the question, right? And what's the importance of actually putting these questions in front of the clients, so that it helps you as the advisor learn how to draw out what is their real concern, what is their real question about their future, and why does that matter for the total relationship?
Yeah, it just goes back to, I think so many advisors are ready to tell and teach,
Mm,
and all we're going to do is take client, what we have found is the questions can be the same. It's flushing out the client's answers that are different.
hmm
And what we're seeking to understand is the feelings behind the answer.
hmm
And having this open dialogue where there's no, it's like there's no agenda. I don't know how they're going to put these cards in order. I just know most people have these things as a goal
Yeah.
or have some high priority in their head, and it just starts becoming all about them.
Yeah. Well, and it helps the advisor understand the client's priority list. And it's beneficial for the client to understand the advisor is actually paying attention to all areas of their life. It doesn't start with statements, it doesn't start with account balances, it starts with questions.
Well, and I don't think what what I've seen, what I've watched watch the client's emotions process what we're doing. Um, we are so compartmentalized in this day and age, right?
Mm,
So if we talk about a topic or a goal, like they'll land on that, but the part of the total relationship, it's everything.
mhm.
And so we're effectively helping them for maybe the first time ever kind of lay it all out,
Yeah.
because goals conflict with each other and timing conflicts with each other, and resources conflict, and it is, and is the other does my partner want to do it, that all
Mm,
these things create these conflicts. And when you're just talking about one thing, you can kind of wrap your head around it, but again, part of the total relationship is to try and start by getting to understand totally what their situation looks like before the portfolio is the end. The
mhm.
beginning is trying to understand how it all comes together to see what help them see these puzzle pieces. If we lay them out, paints the picture, and it's in your head, but you're maybe the only person that's ever seen it, and you probably have never seen it in a way that you actually can apply it, and that's what we're trying to do
Yeah.
for
So
clients.
for so for the listeners, there's a great resource we actually have for you on our website, totalrelationship.com/discovery deck. You can actually go on there and get a free download of these questions. So if you're a visual person and you want to follow along with us, go there and we can get you the free download. And those of you who've actually read the book or got the ebook or bought the physical book, this is actually part of the life plan. This is a part of ongoing client relationships where this information gets put into your CRM so you can track and use it. So it's kind of the high level application of what we're doing with this. So Tyson, you're going to be just so excited. You actually get to jump into it, right? Here we are. Retirement, age, and income.
Get
I
out of
don't
my
even want to
box.
tee up more than that. Go for
Ah,
it.
yes. So one of these cards, and a lot of times it's one of it's up there on the list of priorities. The card on one side says retirement, age, and income, and there's some questions on the other side to kind of help explain what would that mean to them.
Mhm.
Uh, but when they put that card on top, or when that card comes up, I'll ask what which actually is not on the back of the questions on the back of the card to kind of create clarifications. I'll ask, are you working to an age? I'm going to retire at X, or I'm going to slow down at Y. Are you working to an age, or are you working to an income level that you can basically build up enough wealth to replace an amount of income to maintain your lifestyle? And more often than not, I get an age. I'm going to be done at I'm going to be done at 65, or I'm going to be done at 62. I'm going to be done at 55. Um, then I start asking, then the question after that, because it's the question after the question. I mean, you can just keep going, well, why is that?
Mhm.
Sometimes you'll get, because my dad died at 45, so I just want to kill myself, right?
Mhm.
Continuing to work and not be able to have the retirement that they have. Um, Some people will say they never want to retire. And I think what people miss is they work their whole life with retirement being not working. Well, when you're not working, retirement then is nothing, right? You retire into something and it's helping them figure that out. And sometimes it's helping people realize, are you meant to retire? Or especially the business owners and the entrepreneurs that are out there, like they go nuts or die when they have nothing to do. And so
Mm-hmm.
can we give them permission and yet still accomplish all the goals of the spouses and everything else? But so is it an age or an income? And the reason we bring the income component into it is because for a lot of people, and this happened recently, where we had a client pilot forced out of the airlines and as a federal policy at age 65, and he was like a deer in headlights coming up on this age that he didn't set.
Yeah.
And the income component of this card was, uh, how am I going to replace my income? And when I started explaining, well, we're going to wait on Social Security, and so we're going to turn your pension on, and that's going to go here, and then you've been bringing in, this dollar amount every month, and the difference between what the pension is and the dollar amount that you've been used to is what we're going to pull from the portfolio. We're going to put that in the bank account on the 15th of every month, and we're going to put about a year or two of reserve aside, so we have 2 years before you have to worry about where it's coming from, and quite frankly, that's our job. And as soon as I solved that income part, so he could still tithe and he can still have the lifestyle that he was used to, and he had enough wealth, as I showed him, that to make that, like, solving that,
Mm-hmm.
not having to worry about the dividend of this investment and the interest over here or this piece over here. It's just, no, we're going to collect it in one spot and replace that paycheck. That is part of helping understand, is it an age or an income, then why, and then start talking into ways to solve whatever those issues are or concerns are, so they can look forward to and not worry about not having enough or working too long. For some people, it's realizing, hey, from an income standpoint, you can retire now. I think some people, especially those that have saved and saved and saved, may work and sacrifice time that they could have been retired. But the joy is that, again, you're giving them these cards and then asking them open-ended questions to start flushing out the why behind that's important to them, and what the emotions and feelings are behind a goal, instead of just writing down retire at 65. It's like, no, really, there's a story behind, that's their story that's behind that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're really seeking to understand. And then what are they going to be doing?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of one of the cards that we see a lot for, because again, most people work towards retirement, is the retirement age and income.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard you talk about different opportunities you've had with clients over the years to allow them to dream for themselves and actually think about what they want their life to include. We have a better life as part of our core tenet here at Form Wealth, that we're helping our clients live a better life. And it's the best life that they can afford. Everyone has a different retirement, but giving people permission to dream beyond their career, that there is fulfillment and joy in that next career, because that next career is retirement. And helping them be flexible in that and pursue other passions that they might have put on hold through raising kids and finishing their career well, that there is a life beyond it. And I think that's a huge value add for advisors and for clients to have someone who wants to encourage them in that, because they're looking for that opportunity to do more, to what matters more to them when it's not a financial component.
Yep. One of the questions that are also asked when that card comes up is, I'll just ask, what do you net in your bank account every month? Like, I'm not asking for a budget. I'm just kind of saying, net of your paycheck, it goes in the bank account. How much is that? Because that's kind of the amount that they're looking to replace, especially if they're W-2 employees. There's just, again, there are so many different ways to ask the question, but they are telling you where to start. And so again, these cards allow us to prioritize where we start and start having that conversation and flush out the feelings and the why behind these cards.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Well,
All
that
three
kind
of them that we get to talk about on this podcast. So I think one's down.
Yes, but we're actually going to, part of what you're actually talking about, we're going to jump into next is the education card. Because I think that's a huge component that people often think ceases, and they only think about just grandchildren. But what's the value in asking a client about education?
Well, so it's not necessarily about grandchildren.
Correct.
Um, the again, because this is agnostic relative to age, so everybody will get the same set of cards. I've had 65-year-olds tell their spouse that the spouse didn't know, you know what, I want to go back and finish this degree, or I want to go back to school to do something.
I
And,
want to
and
get the
that's
certificate, this
right.
extension
Because
program.
because the card, as I look at it, it's like, no, it doesn't have anything really, children or grandchildren, or what education would you like to get?
Mm.
I've had a lot of people tell me, I've taken care of my kids. They're on their own for their grandkids. And I laugh because I know in my career that when you get past your first decade or so of retirement and the go-go years and having fun, and then you start entering the slow go years or the no go years, it's like those grandkids become golden, and by the time they go to college, all of a sudden there is money being set aside for that.
Yep.
So yeah, if the education card is coming out in that deck, it'll be asking, what was your education?
Hmm.
Right. And how did, I had to do it on my own, or no, my parents were helpful and they set money aside. And how do you feel about your kids going into debt? How do you feel about your kids having skin in the game? How do you feel about where they're going to go or what they're going to do? Because again, this gets into the family component, especially
Yep.
for those that have, or you'll find out, um, all my kids are out of college. And then the question is, okay, do any of them have any debts? And do you want to help with any of that if you could? Right. It's
Yep.
just continuing to flush out everything around education instead of just dismissing it. Because no, my kids are done. Okay, well, but are they still paying for it?
Hmm.
Or um, education is also, it doesn't necessarily mean college, right? I've had
Correct.
clients go on and get educated the way I would help them frame that, in photography, or in a skill or a craft that they want to hone in as part of their retirement, and that's part of
Hmm.
funding those things. Um, but in the end, yes, it's helping fund kids and grandkids, and then celebrating that journey that they go on as they go into college. But I think at the end of the day, most people, um, I don't think they realize that we're wired this way, but we're all learners, right? We're
Hmm.
always taking in information. And so part of it too is just, what do you do to educate yourself? And then you can flush out what resources are good or bad or indifferent that they are bringing in to themselves to try and educate themselves, whether it's world affairs or to learn, you can also learn. I flushed out, what do you like to educate yourself on? And one of the clients was like, love World War II. And it's just like, oh, why? And he's like, my dad, this is years ago, but he's like, my dad was in D-Day. And all of a sudden he pulls out his hand, and he's got his dad's uh, Marine ring from, and it's just
Oh,
like, yeah.
wow.
Or back 25 years ago in my career, I've had people that were in World War II. And it's just like,
Yeah.
cancel the rest of my day, right? We're going to sit here and
Right.
yeah, but you wouldn't flush out, why they're interested in these things,
Hmm.
if all you did was just say, no, education's done.
Yeah. Well, and it's truly, and there's the layer analogy. You have to keep peeling back those layers because that's what actually brings the depth and true understanding of what the client is wired to. It kind of gives a frame of reference. If their parents or grandparents were raised in the Depression, if they were laden with medical school debt, or if they wanted to, like they had a grandparent who actually saved for their college. Like there's so many things you can glean that you wouldn't know if you skip over it because
Yeah,
they're in their 60s.
as someone's listening to this, I want to change your visual on like peeling back the layers, like it's peeling back an onion.
Oh,
This
no.
is like seeing petals of a rose become
Yes.
undone. In the end, you're seeing something that's just, you're understanding who this person is at a whole nother level, because
Hmm.
it starts with them. And again, this is financial services, and we're getting into all these, things that allow to have that total relationship, which is the whole point behind this. That
Hmm.
again, it doesn't take that much more time, but it
Hmm.
adds so much more value.
Yeah. Oh, well, you know my love of gardening and flowers, so
Oh yeah,
I'm
I almost
happy
didn't
to
say it
shift the
because it's like,
conversation.
that wasn't really for your benefit, though. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I
I'll let
did.
you have one win for Kim today. There we go.
I was going to give you another flower as a reference, but I was like, we're just going to keep on
We're
what
just
he's
gotta,
got.
yeah, yeah,
You're going to
yeah.
get the win. All right. Something I know that's near and dear to your heart, Tyson, as an entrepreneur and a business owner, is talking about business transition and succession.
Yeah, so this one is not for everybody because not everybody owns a business. But when this one shows up, again, it often shows up at the top because if they're a business owner, how they transition out of their business can be a significant part. And helping people realize that everyone is exiting their business. You're either dying with it or you're consciously ahead of time doing something in that transition. And for the fact that majority of small businesses are family based and there's this desire or hope to bring in someone from the family to turn that business over to,
Yeah.
that in and of itself can be a very what's the word? Well, there's just a lot to it. There's a lot of fear.
Emotionally
There's
heavy.
Yeah, there's the risk of monetizing your future around the necks of your kids.
Yeah.
Is this what the kids really want? And or just selling that business, and what is that CEO going to do?
Yeah.
And part of, again, being a student teacher is, the couple years ago, I had gotten a certification in business exit planning just to learn how to ask more questions to help dive at the feelings and the heart and the why behind, are they going to be able to make this transition? Are they better off? Some will flush out. Do you not want to sell your business? Do you want to just take enough money out of your business that you wouldn't have to sell it? What does that look like?
Yeah.
And part of it is just asking questions. I think an advisor's job is to do nothing but continue to give the client the opportunity to think about different options that might have eluded them, as a way of just to kind of, in the end, when we're making the decision, when the client is opting for this is what they want, it's after that we've kind of thought about all kinds of different possibilities, because I think they're making a better educated decision, and we're trying to educate them to make a decision at their level. It's not talking over their head. It's not trying to be this. It's not trying to tell them this is why you have to do these things, but just sharing what possibilities, what we've seen from other clients, what we think has worked in the past, and let them kind of pick and choose. And a lot of times it's to do what you want to do in life, you have to say no to a lot of other things. And if
Yeah.
we can say no to them on the front end, it makes it much easier to say yes.
Yeah. Well, and something I've seen you do in client interactions, especially when there's a couple at the table, we don't do these meetings when there's a couple involved in financial decisions without both people being at the table. To your point, is each person brings their own concerns and questions and ideas to each topic. But when it comes to business succession and transition, there's often the spouse who's not the entrepreneur who has a desire for what that retirement might look like, or their fear around what's going to happen if their spouse never retires or they never sell the business, or they're making their child monetize their retirement, or if something suddenly happened and the business owner is deceased, who's there holding the cards? It's a safe place for them to start having that conversation instead of that vulnerability with both of them at the kitchen table. They're doing it in our office.
And beyond just the business owner aspect, I think a lot of advisors deal with the decision maker and then make the decision on the investment and then leave the other party out.
Yeah.
And we encourage them to come in, because I learned after 22 years of being married that I don't speak well for my wife. She speaks
She speaks
fantastic for
great for
herself.
herself. Yep.
Right. And so helping them realize, like, no, we're going to bring them into a meeting and there's going to be questions that are going to be asked that she's or he is going to have answers to. And I'd rather hear their answers.
Hmm.
Um, and it is much better having both of them at the table. And then we found that they feel more comfortable to keep coming, because we're not sitting here trying to make them feel dumb or talk about topics that
Excluded.
aren't interesting to them,
Yep.
but they have a say in what they want the retirement to look like, or how they want to educate their kids, or what their fears are of a business succession, those types of things. So,
Yeah.
all right, I think we're like long in the tooth because I want to keep going, right? So if I
I
want to keep
know.
going, we're probably done.
I
So
was
where
going
are
to
what
cut
do we
you
got?
off. I'm glad you're getting my feeling all the way here. I got the feeling. So, the biggest thing, Tyson, I want you to just kind of leave the listeners with like a takeaway from just kind of stepping into these first three things. Like, other than make sure you're subscribed so you can hear the other episodes and get the complete Discovery Deck experience. But what's important for them to take away from today?
Uh, that there's a different way that an advisor can be working with you than I think you're getting. So that's for you, the client. And for the advisor, I think there are better questions to be asking before you're telling them anything.
That's very good. I think it's important for everybody to be humble in this experience so that they can learn and know that there's always room to grow and be a better client and be a better advisor. So make sure that you're subscribed so you know when the next episode comes out, and head over to totalrelationship.com/discovery deck so you can grab your free download and follow along with us. And make sure you connect with us on LinkedIn, and all of those links will be in the show notes for you.